Welcome to Explain Yourself, the Kickstarter Roundtable. My name is Kevin Joseph. I am always, what is the word? Joined. I don't know. I had a rough day to get you guys. I was out in the sun with kindergartners through 8th graders for 6 hours today. So don't expect me to be able to speak. And as long as I've got that out of the way, joined by Will Allred as always. I can't talk. How are you, buddy?
Hey, doing all right. Hey, everyone. It's all right. I got your back, man. We can we'll muddle through together. We've got some pretty awesome guests tonight. They'll save us, I'm sure.
I hope so. They have every week so far, so no pressure, guys. Except for that one week when we had a guy named Clay Adams on. That was a rough week, but I'm sure we won't have that problem. And speaking of Clay Adams back, is Clay the first person to come back with a second Kickstarter, Will?
I think so.
Really? Am I the first returning champion?
You're the returning champion, yeah.
Wow, I'm the Ken Jennings of this show.
Not bad at all. And you are joined with David for Nightmare Theater. Do you want to give us a quick 30-second elevator pitch on it? And you know what? I'd like to hear from David. I hear enough from Clay on a day-to-day basis.
I'm just gonna relax.
I almost did a spit take there. Yeah, I wasn't prepared for that. Clay usually does a lot of the talking, and that's a good thing. Well, basically, it's a cinematic horror comic anthology. So these are stories that are kind of inspired by the horror films that we grew up on, whether they be like old monster movies or slasher movies, like every genre and subgenre of horror. We've wanted to use that as a jumping off point for the writers and artists to come up with stories that feel cinematic. And then the way we framed it in Nightmare Theater is we have our host, Shelley Post Stoker, and her minions, and it's a haunted theater where something horrible happened, and it's like a film festival of souls kind of thing. So in that way, we'll have it kind of be ongoing, hopefully every year, maybe every other year. It's a lot of work sometimes, but people seem to like it, and the first volume turned out really well.
And this is Nightmare Theater 2. It's the sequel. It's the sequel.
I unfortunately read one story, the first one by James Powell, got scared, put it down, and haven't returned to it. So I didn't run into. I hear we have a Nightmare Theater alumni. Steven, did you have a short story in the first one?
I did. I had a short story with Fabio Alves.
That name rings a bell. Why don't you give us an elevator pitch of the book that you're kickstarting right now?
Sure. My book is Monster Matador. It's a delightfully demented kaiju throwdown about a matador who fights monsters to make a better world for his daughter. And our latest book is a 64-page graphic novel called Monster Matador Afropocalypse that sees the matador join a team of international kaiju killers to search and destroy an ancient evil that threatens to unleash a zombie plague across the world. And the cool thing about this one is that it actually guest stars some real-life comic creators as some of those kaiju killers. Rylan Grant, who is the writer and Ringo Award winner for Banjax and The Jump. He has a current book, Suicide Jockeys, from Source Point Press. There's Christian Horn, who is the co-creator of Baby Badass. And another fellow who's right here, Dave Schrader, who plays the other half of the German duo Hans and Schrader. And you can kind of see him here. This is the cast poster that we did. You can see Dave is the big guy right here with the Jesse Ventura gun from Predator. So
I have been immortalized in a comic, so it's all downhill from here.
And once again, Will and I have brought together a cast of creators that it looks like we were really smart and organized, and it was all just dumb fucking luck. So I didn't know Steven was in Nightmare Theater. I didn't know David was in Matador Monster. Will and I knew none of this. And well, I'll learn throughout the show. That's what it's for, just for me to get, the adjective before the noun or vice versa. Eric, what's great about the show too is, and Indie Comics, we get to really have very diverse stories and creators. So Eric, tell us about Blister, because it's unique to a lot of stories, but also extremely cool.
Yeah, Blister is a coming of age story about a couple of punk rock kids. Takes place in the 90s. in the Midwest. They're in a band together. It's 8 stories, about 200 pages. It's a trade paperback style, so it's a big chunky book, and it's parts of it are kind of based on parts of things that happened to me, things from different. It's very punk rock inspired, so some of it's based on things from songs that I love, feelings that I've had from listening to songs, people I know. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of there's some romance, some just crazy crap the kids get into, and that's pretty much it.
So let's get into that. Let's start off with you and Blister. I'm going to pull up the campaign in a second. So I've heard of like writing and storytelling is almost taking your real life, putting it in the compost, letting it change, and then bringing another story out. So how much composting is there? Is this, a couple days so you can really look at the story and see your life in it? Or is it almost
I think
completely?
I can, but I think that if some of my friends were reading it, they would see parts of it. Like after so I put this out as a novel initially, like 5 years ago. And so I had some friends pick it up and they were like, hey, I remember when this happened and this and that. This didn't happen like that. So I got a lot of flack for certain things.
So your friends were fact checking your
a little bit of that. And then there were certain things because I merged people. So there were certain things that people were like, well, that wasn't me that did that. That was so-and-so. And
right.
I was like, well, it's both of you right there. It's a little
That's
hard for
awesome.
some people to understand, but so the story actually started out, I was writing about somebody else. And I was kind of plotting it as a newspaper strip, like a weekly. So I was like plotting out like 52 weeks. I wanted to plot out like a year of it, which Blister could never be in like a mainstream newspaper. It's very underground punk rock, a lot of swearing. And so as I was writing it, though, I started filling it in with things that happened to me until it pretty much got taken over by things that were me. And the other stuff kind of got left to the side by the time I made it into a book.
The artwork is unique and cool. Is this always been your style, or is this specific to the story you're telling?
Yeah, so when I was initially sitting down to draw Blister, I was kind of trying to come up with a style for it. And I kind of went with like a Little Orphan Annie, and then like kind of a underground, the eyes you could see, like the dot eyes are kind of where I got Little Orphan Annie. But I was looking at some underground comics, some of the old stuff from the '60s. Keep on Trucking and all that. And so I kind of pulled together like parts of everything, a lot of cross hatching. I kind of designed it all based on that stuff. I went to school for illustration, and so I don't have like a style. I just kind of draw what I need to draw. And each one of my projects that I worked on is very different. And that's kind of my Blister style that I created for that.
It looks very nice.
Yeah.
It feels very 90s. It's got a really cool aesthetic just from looking. I love that. I mean, I grew up then, and it's just like it looks really cool.
Kind of reminds me a
definitely
little
captured
of
that like era,
Ed Piskor a little bit too. Like
So that cover at the top of the Kickstarter was actually I had my buddy Greg Warrenchak. He's done a lot of indie stuff. He actually did a quick layout. I did pencils for it, and then the guy who did a lot of artwork for MXPX inked it and did the colors. So it's kind of a collaboration between a few of us. That was a band that I liked in the '90s, and I still like today. So I wanted to bring in like somebody that kind of already had a foot in like the punk rock, community. So that was a lot of fun. The second piece there was by Angela Adling. She did one of the variant covers for me, and it kind of leaned into the romance of the book a bit.
Are you broadcasting from a record shop?
No, this is my my rock lounge in my house.
Nice. It's
actually
very thematic.
I bought a house this year, and the very first room that we put together was this room. Like we built like this shrine, and then we're like, oh, we should probably move in the rest of the house.
Start with the important stuff.
I guess you should unpack the underwear.
Yeah, it was almost literally like that.
Do you make music yourself, or were you just in the scene as an appreciator of music?
Yeah, so like I wanted to. My dad is an amazing musician, and I always was drawing. So I have a couple guitars. I took lessons for a summer. I played a little bit with a couple friends, but I am not a musician by any means. If I said that, somebody would jump on here and shoot me down real quick.
I'm not a writer either. It hasn't stopped me yet.
When I got out of school, though, I like tried to get in with a lot of bands. I went to a lot of concerts and became friends with some bands in the Chicago scene, and did a little bit of work here and there. At the time, like the web was kind of new, so I was doing some web development. There wasn't a whole ton of people doing it, I guess, then. Like now we can make your own site, but at the time you had to know somebody kind of. So I was that somebody for a while. So I always appreciated music and I always wanted to be involved. I just couldn't do it musically.
No, that's awesome. The black and white, is that a stylistic choice? Is that an economic choice? What went into making it black and white?
Yeah, it just felt right. Like I love the like the zine fest scene, and you'd be almost hard pressed to find a color book in a zine fest. Like, and I like that aesthetic, so I chose to go that. Like anything else I've ever done has been full color, but for Blister, just the black and white felt right for it.
I personally feel like oh, sorry, but I feel like humor should be black and white. I guess it's The Tick and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, but I don't want a humor comic in color myself. But
did you mentioned that there are multiple stories in there and it's 200 pages? So do they range in length from what?
Yeah, so there's a lot of them are around the 20-something page mark. There's a handful that are some shorts that are tossed in there, maybe four. I think, yeah, one's like 6 pages, one's like 4 pages. So there's some shorter ones, and they all kind of, each one is like a vignette, like story. I mean, it's got like a very good start and finish, but then like there's kind of an overarching thing that's happening because it all takes place on different days over the course of a few years. Like in their high school years, and it all tells like a specific story, and it's kind of loosely, and it kind of comes together at the end.
all right. Well, Four Tails Podcast says, "Wow, sounds really cool." Thank you for checking it out. Four Tails Podcast. Well, I've got to check you out. So thank you for listening, guys. Eric, that's awesome. We got Katrina Rhodes was looking in. She said she knows at least one of these faces. So by the end of the night, you're going to know all 6. And she worked on Monster Matador, super fun book. So I think let's segue into Monster Matador. And just because I'm reading it in the right order now does not mean I'll do it the next time. That is my warning.
Katrina, though, I'm sorry that it was Steven's face that you recognized.
Oh, it's starting now.
Is that your crib in the corner, Dave? Is that where you're sitting next to?
Well, I am also in my rock lounge. So as you can see,
David, lounging in your rocker is not a rock lounge. That is different.
I really wish that was the case, but I won't be doing that for a long time. We just had a baby this year, so yeah, very exciting times. Thank you. Sorry to interrupt, Steven. Go ahead.
What am I supposed to do?
You do whatever you want. If I were you, I would talk about Monster Matador while I go through the screen. But to be honest, this is your time to shine, baby. You do whatever you want.
Monster Matador.
Give us a recipe, Steven. Just give us a recipe while he's doing this.
Let me see. Monster Matador. It's kind of like a passion project for me. I love matadors. They're kind of like superheroes in their own way. Their movement and things like that. And it just popped into my head, the name Monster Matador, and I thought it would be really cool to see a matador fight like a Godzilla type monster. So I actually wrote and drew 12 issues of the thing on my own. And then I relaunched the book last year with Fabio Alves, who was nominated for a Ringo Award for his cover work on Banjax. As you can see, just scrolling down here, his art is incredible. He brought like a Bill Sienkiewicz influence to this book. He's colored by Alex Zieff, who is also now currently the colorist of Cult of Dracula. And she basically had to relearn how to color to do this book because to like match it to Fabio's style. So
this
really
helicopter looked just so real. You know, it's impressionistic but real too, like concrete.
Yeah, he's a really tough artist to color because a lot of it is he uses almost like a chiaroscuro style sometimes. So a lot of it is kind of you fill it in because you know what it is, but to color it, you kind of have to know like structure and things like that. And so she's been amazing. And this book basically brings together my love for Predator and zombies, and it is a fast-paced, basically action movie. About these kaiju killers that venture into the South African forest to search for the source of this zombie plague that has turning both animals and zombies, animals and people into zombies. And right there we did a movie poster cover, variant cover, and this one is by Tony Donnelly. He's best known for Albert Einstein, Time Mason. And this variant cover, this reward tier actually comes with, you can get a signed book plate. It's signed by Tony, by me, by Ryland Grant, Dave Schrader, only because he begged us, and also Chris. So it's just a really cool book. It's a really fun book. We've gotten a great response to it. And
I see a Explain Yourself alumni, David Pipos, off the wall, over the top, and totally insane monster mashup. Take the kaiju by the horns and order Monster Matador today. You know, that guy, he should have worked in like comic PR or something. I feel like
he's a man. Can I tell you
He's
the
got a
first
knack
time
for it.
I tabled with him just next to him, and we did a comic book shop show with a bunch of creators 3 or 4 years ago. He's got this like laser vision. He's got like a tractor beam that comes out of his eyes. He just like he gets you. He gets people, and it's just incredible to watch. He's so good at it.
It's stamina too, because the
stamina.
He stays very consistent with his pitching, and
it's like boom, 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 boom.
Yeah.
I mean,
I was tired just tabling next to him.
Yeah, and you've done it. You just feel smaller because he's just a machine. But yeah, he's an inspiration to us all.
So so how do you do in conventions? I had a convention where it had gone very terribly, and I moved to a new spot. And the last day, I had to get as much money as I could possibly scrape.
So,
and someone said, "Hey, you're a really good fisherman," and I wasn't sure if I was being complimented or insulted, but I was like, "Thank you, I guess." But what do you do at a convention?
It's going to be we launched the book literally during COVID. So when I did it, I had tabled once with the book when I was doing it. Unfortunately, I tabled with Dave, which people just kept walking past.
Been there, done that, man.
But no, I've done.
True. That's not true. If I remember, you did not shower the night before, and there was a stench that was wafting around the table.
If I remember, you spiked my cookie.
That sounds like a euphemism. I don't think I want to know any more about this.
But I did
Spiking anyone's cookie.
I did a handful of store signings and this summer, and I couldn't stop selling the book. I mean, so it went really well.
I feel like the book sells itself.
What's that? Yeah,
I feel like the book sells itself. Like, it's such a great pitch.
Yeah, and in person too. I mean, it's a weird book to kind of explain. It's got a quirky. I always say it's kind of like an action movie mixed with a telenovela. it's got like a kind of a quirky tone to it, and it's not what you would expect of a monster book. You know, it's really a story of a guy who's just kind of like, you know, as a parent now, and you know, he's a parent. It's kind of like, you know, on a metaphorical level, it's about like, you know, you're trying to make, you don't want your kids to grow up in a crappy world, right? But you sort of feel helpless because there's not really much you can do about it, and as much as you do, it always feels like, you know, you can't do enough. And that's sort of like the thrust of the book. You know, it's kind of like a very personal story in that sense, where he's fighting monsters, but he can never, you know, defeat them all. But he also has to protect this like little girl from this like very violent world. And it's like, how do you do that? You know? Yeah, it's like, I mean, for me too, I try to do, it's like an action movie on paper. You know, like we structured these books to be kind of like really tight and to just move. You know, we don't have like pages long of exposition and stuff like that. It's really like fly by the seat of your pants. It's really action packed, and people have really responded to that. So
Steve, you said you drew the first 12 issues.
Yeah.
So did you design the character?
I designed. So I kind of had this like thing. I was unemployed. I'm still unemployed, but whatever, you know, I have kids now, so it's my excuse. But I kind of, you know, I was reading, I think, the Claremont X-Men books from the beginning. And I was really interested in seeing how that book really took a while to actually kind of like develop and solidify. And I thought it would be fun to just kind of on my own, just start drawing a book, just rather than, you know, as a writer, sort of work it out in outline form and whatever. I thought, well, why don't I just do a comic and see what happens, you know? And then it kind of got away from me, like, and I did 12 issues. I did like 300 pages. But it was a great experience because it really kind of like, it was a fun way to develop the character and the world and everything like that. So when, and then I had kids, so I just kept doing it. But then when it came time to relaunch it, I lucked out and got Fabio to do the art. So it's kind of like a relaunch of the book, but it feels like a world that's already built because in a way it has been, you know?
So Fabio's art is better than everybody's. I mean, like at all, not even on this thing, but how skilled are you? Like, what is your artistic training?
I'm as good as my 5-year-old.
Okay. All right.
No, I mean, I'm okay. I'm not, but like, what happened was it's kind of like I don't even show my book anymore because it's just kind of like I went to a comic art show because Fabio is a huge fan of Mike Mignola, and Mike Mignola was there. So I was like, you know, I told Fabio I'd hand him, and I gave the book to Mignola, and at first he was like, all right, thanks, because I'm sure he gets it all the time. And then he started looking through it, and he's just like, oh wow, this guy's good, you know. So that was kind of like a nice compliment for him. But yeah,
Steven's art. He's being a little modest. It's got a unique charm to it, and it is in black and white. It's funny, so it's in black and white. So you like that.
Very nice.
But
Kevin Joseph approves.
Yeah. I think after a while, you just marvel at like the output that he did for that, and it's like, you know, he just did it himself, which, you know, I think that's kind of inspiring in a lot of ways. So,
and I think, to be fair, Steve's 5-year-old is Banksy.
No wonder he's unemployed.
Reveal that publicly.
Spoiler alert!
Oh, sorry. Oh shit. Are we live?
We're live.
Wow.
Sorry.
Breaking news.
I would say edit that out, but damn.
Keep it in the room, people. Keep it in the room.
That's right.
Absolutely.
You mentioned Claremont. I saw a really good documentary on YouTube on Claremont about how he was kind of an auteur, and, you know, ultimately around, you know, the late 80s, early 90s, the X-Men just kind of got away from him.
Yeah.
You know, they took it away from him because of profits. It was a really interesting documentary.
Is it that it's that X-Men, right? With the X-Men one. Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, definitely if somebody's, you know, taken a book that nobody cared about, and 18 years later, it's the biggest book in history. You should definitely take that away from him.
Because I mean, they didn't have anything to do with it, right?
I mean, I wasn't reading at the time, but I've always just been like, I mean, just let the man work. just let the man work. I mean, come on. First comic book I read, X-Men 194, first ever Nimrod, and I was like, oh, superhero comics. That's where I have to live. It was just like 22 pages, and I was hooked forever because of Claremont, and
the
first like
first
John
one
Romita Jr. right on art.
I mean, it very well could be. I'd have to look at it.
Yeah, that was Junior. The first one I read was the first one was 251, which was that Wolverine on the cross cover.
Oh, that's Silvestri, right?
Yeah,
that's Silvestri cover, definitely.
Yeah,
and that's one of the two covers I think when people ask me my favorite covers, that one and the Brood Wolverine where he's turning.
Oh that one's great.
But oh man, yeah. I mean, let's go back in time and give Chris Claremont more of his due. Because I wouldn't be here without him.
I do feel like guys like that, when you've done something that extraordinary, you should get a free pass, I think, for quite a while. If the guy wants to work, he should work. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I know we all want to get their jobs, but let him keep it for a while.
So let's segue over to Nightmare Theater. But first, tell me about your piece in the first Nightmare Theater, Steve, since you were in it.
We did, Fabio and I did a short story. It's kind of like a Brazilian urban legend. I don't want to spoil it though. So
well, I'm sure you submitted it under a pseudonym because you were submitting it to David and Clay, right? And
It was about zombie Pele.
Now that pitches itself. Write that down.
I'm gonna have to think of another pseudonym now to pitch that the next one. No, honestly, it was such a fun book to work on. I like horror movies. I never really thought about writing horror. But it was too good to pass up, just to stick it to Dave and Clay. But two,
he did. Did he.
Fabio, he's a horror guy. He loves horror. So this was like right up his alley, and we did a black and white one, and we set it in the rain and the fog and everything. It's just beautiful. So it was so much fun to work on.
Black and white, so it's funny.
What's that?
Black and white, so it's funny.
Yeah,
absolutely.
It's hilarious, because people play.
One of the greatest absurd humor, Sin City by Frank Miller.
Yeah. I laughed my ass off at that. Yeah.
That scene where he's electrocuted is hilarious. Oh my God.
There's this little known book that won a few awards, Mouse. That's
funny.
That is
laugh a minute.
Yeah.
Like he packs more jokes into a page, I think, than anybody alive. Really amazing.
If anyone out there has not read Mouse and get it,
no, it is not.
It's funny. You can sue Clay.
What I loved about Steve's story is that because it is an urban legend, and there are so many great horror movies that are based around urban legends. Urban legend being one of them, but when a stranger calls, certainly a lot of aspects of Scream, probably Black Christmas has some elements.
Candyman,
yeah, exactly. Like I feel like urban legends are just at the root of so many of these movies, and so the fact that he chose to do that, I think, was great. And
you can just rip them off and not give anybody credit. So
that's the best part.
60% of the story is right, and all you got to do is find the emotion in a good artist.
Yeah,
I like the way Steve thinks. This guy's smart.
It was I'm gonna pre-pitch for you guys. that first book, it's what is it, 300 plus pages?
It's like 272. Yeah, it's almost 300 pages.
Whatever, just 272 pages. There's so much talent in that book, and it's story after story. It's really so good, and I'm actually looking forward to the second one. I'll admit it.
I know that hurt you to say, Steve.
It hurt me. It hurt. We talked about this before the show that we're going to pretend, right? But no, anyway, pitch your book. It's great. I love it.
Oh, wait, before you pitch it, Blake from Blake's Buzz has made it. So we are now on, guys. We need to
missed
do
my
our
pitch,
best.
Blake.
Back to one.
Katrina, we were working for you, but now that Blake's here, we are going to work hard.
Now the real show starts. Like Steven's little thing was just kind of like a.
We are not talking about Steven's thing, whether it is little or not. I'm not making any choices on that one way or the other.
I hear it's 12 issues long.
We'll get to it.
All right, we made David do the elevator pitch. So Clay, let's you start in on us. Come on. Remember,
great. Yeah, let's do it.
Blake is here. Do not.
Blake's here. Oh, all right. Shit. Okay, hold on. All right. Okay, let's go. It's Nightmare Theater 2. It's the sequel to this great book that Steve was talking about and that Steve was in. And if you want it, you can get the first volume as part of this campaign. So you can check that out. We've got some as an add-on. We've got the hardcover, which I have right here. This is actually the proof, so you can't see the awesome spot gloss that we got. But yeah, the first volume is a nice thick book. Tons of talent in there. I don't know if you can see this. I can't turn. You can't see this.
We can't see the art, but we can see that you're flipping through a page that exists.
There's nothing to see. There's nothing. It's a blank book. But yeah, the first volume was so fantastic. We wanted to do it again. We wanted to get more creators in. So we've got some returning champions, some final girls and gals who live to see the sequel. And then we've got some new faces to kind of keep things interesting. But it's this book is a little bit smaller, as we like to say, like Chucky and Annabelle. Good things kill in small packages.
Real quick, if you go back, that image there from Manuel Taglietti, he actually did use on the right there for the demon, Stephen Prince as a model.
Oh, I can see that now. Yeah,
it was a switch.
Like after he showers, he's very similar.
I used Dave in my book, so I said, "Go ahead." You can.
I'm looking at this, but I'm looking a little bit farther to the right. 313 backers already. $13,390 out of a $13,666 goal. Whoa, what an odd choice to end in that. You guys are almost there. What's it been, like 4 days?
We launched on Tuesday. Yeah, Tuesday of this week.
Wow.
So it's been a good week. We were just named a project we love today.
Beautiful.
Congrats!
Which was
awesome,
it
man.
was nice to see. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, we've been sitting at about 300 away from the goal for a couple hours now. So it's like refreshing every few minutes, just waiting to see if we're gonna hit that goal anytime soon.
Well, Will and I take credit for the Explain Yourself bump. So when you do go over that goal, whether it be in the next 5 minutes or like 3 weeks from now, Will and I did it, and you are welcome.
Thank you, guys.
We only have 33 more days on this, so it's it'll be a nice tight window.
We got time on the clock.
Now this cover, I thought you were saying Steve was the model for the one in white, but
my body.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you guys come to the artist with, hey, I'd like it to feel like this, that, or the other thing, or did you just kind of say, give us what's in your head?
We said, give us what you got, and this is what he got, and it was pretty darn great.
Yeah.
Well, it actually fit into one of the stories that's in the book called Carmilla Comes Again, about the original vampire Carmilla. And so it was kind of a perfect match. And, you know, he's kind of a legendary artist. So again, you take what he gives you, and this thing kind of worked out right up our alley, and it made for a really unique cover.
Yeah, he did not phone this one in. That's incredible.
He did not. Yeah, and then you saw up above, we've got the Alex Cormack Date Night cover. This coming up is Brian Silverback's Cthulhu Dreams. So I've got a little Lovecraft adaptation in there. So he did a little nod to Lovecraft.
Nice.
And this coming up is the cosplay cover.
And that is your Elvira. What was her name again? The
Shelley Poe Stoker.
Okay.
She has an origin story in the first Nightmare Theater. Our characters have little short origin stories, and she's made up, of course, of like, you know, a little part of you know, Bram Stoker and Edgar Allan Poe and Mary Shelley, and the Can Killer who had legs that could kill. And so yeah, she's kind of our Elvira Vampira hostess, and she's done our videos. Sarah Maliski, she's great.
Oh, that's awesome. I see that if you would like to see less of the white outfit, you can. Which God bless you.
That's actually, believe it or not, so that's actually the one he sent us. And so we had to pay extra to put clothing on. But so eventually we were like, you know what though, like let's, you know, if this is what his fans want, like let's give it to him, you know.
Well, you know, who are you to get in the way of his artistic vision?
Well, that's what I said.
It sells, Clay. It sells.
That's what I hear.
Yeah.
They're flying like hotcakes.
Now, Clay, this one you had a hardcover for the first one, and that is a beautiful hardcover.
Thank you, sir.
You know, when we were tabling at the local con here.
That's Will's story, by the way.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Cool.
Actually,
we haven't even mentioned that Will's a contributor.
Who did so Mick Byers did the art on this. That's nice.
And the art is by Julio Caesar.
The colors, yeah.
Sorry, the colors. Who did an amazing job on the colors too. So yeah. But does this one? Are you doing a hardcover for this one?
We are pricing it out right now. We originally did not plan to do a hardcover, but when we launched, we heard from so many people that they wanted that option. Mm-hmm. So we're looking for quotes on that and thinking about which cover we might want to do as a hardcover. So stay tuned, as they say on the Late Show.
Steven or Eric could do it.
That's true. That is true.
What am I supposed to do now?
Steve's already posed. He posed for Emmanuel.
I've given you enough.
So I want to ask, as somebody who looks at anthologies as daunting and intimidating, just as the person who would have to find an artist to do a 4-page piece. What goes into editing it? Like, what goes into conceiving, pitching, getting pitches? Like, what is the work? It seems like an incredible amount of work to do an anthology of this size.
You would not be wrong.
Yeah.
But the pay is great. Let me tell you, as everyone out there that's doing comics, I'm sure your other guests can attest. Like, you make so much money in comics. It's like a deluge of cash that just kind of cascades over you.
My neighbor is Kanye. You know.
But as far as the editing, I was kind of new to this, and me and Clay, had the idea. Like, people love horror. Let's tie it into this cinematic thing. And we probably talked about the first one at least a year and a half before we launched, Clay, probably.
Yeah.
Just kind of discussing what we would do, what the framework is, coming up with the idea of like, okay, let's have these characters. And in the first book, like, we have an opening comic with the character Shelley Poe, and she introduces it, and then there's these interstitials between the blocks of stories, which are kind of like laid out like you would have a film festival. So shorts and oddities, are in one section, and the features and, late night creature features and things like that. So, we kind of hammered that out, and then it's a matter of just kind of getting the word out. And initially for the first one, it was, let's talk to all these amazing creators. We know all these indie creators, whether it's Charlie Stickney and David Pepos had a story, and Steven. There's a million, I don't know, 39 teams, Clay? Like, I think
it was 30 something. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like 39 creative teams. So it's probably got too big, but we wanted to kind of like go for it with the first one and put out a really amazing book. And, it's a long process. We're kind of hands-off editor-wise, unless something just kind of needs a little guidance here and there. But it's a matter of also where you put them in the book, especially the last one. This one's a little more streamlined, but that first one was like, where does this story go? How does this work? And it's a lot of moving parts and a lot of thankless work, but it was fun. It was fun to do.
Yeah, and the big thing really is like the curation. So just sort of making sure that the pitches don't all overlap. That we don't have a million vampire stories or,
right.
or twists. Like it was funny because we would get pitches, and for the most part in volume 1, there wasn't a whole lot of overlap. Like we didn't have to turn down a lot of pitches in volume 1. But what was interesting is by the time we got to volume 2, we would start to see pitches, like people would pitch us stories that were in volume 1, and it's like, well, we literally just did that story. So can you give us something else, right? Or somebody would pitch a story that it's like, well, somebody else is doing something kind of like that already. Or like somebody would pitch me a story. I actually said this to a couple of people. I was like, look, I will greenlight this, but I want you to know that I've actually been working on this very thing that you're pitching. Like I've been working on a story just like it. So if mine ever sees the light of day, I want to be upfront with you that, I've already been working on this.
Yes.
And in some instances, like people would say, okay, that's cool. And in other instances, people were like, yeah, let's maybe do something else. But I think that curation part is really sort of what we focus on a little bit more. Dave is in a grave. He's buried himself alive. I don't know where he's gone.
Don't bury me. I'm not dead yet.
Oh! Surprise twist.
I have to plug in the computer because it's about to die. So just ignore me for a second.
All right, everybody, ignore Dave. We're all used to that. So what was I saying? Oh, the curation. The curation is really the most important part. And then we want to get people that we trust to turn in a professional book. So there are times when I'm going over and actively editing certain stories, just to kind of like, push the writer to dig a little deeper or something. But mostly it's that curation part. And like looking at the pages as they come in, like a lot of times with anthologies, people kind of want to like skimp on the lettering. So I'll sort of, give them some helpful hints on how they can improve that and kind of shape that up. But like Dave said, like we don't want to be super, I don't know, super editors, like nitpicking every little thing. We want people to kind of run and do their thing. It's sort of like, casting is 90% of making a movie. And that's kind of how we feel about this.
It looked like a big variety of styles. Does that come into play when you're mixing up the stories in the books too?
Yeah, for sure. Because we don't want everything to look exactly the same. And we do. What's interesting about that is that, we have a couple of guys that are really strong with like horror comedy. Richard Fairgray is somebody who he does Black Sand Beach, and he had a great story in our first volume. He's got a really cool story in this volume. But it's a little more of that odd, twisted, funny horror. And so we don't want too much of that because this is a horror anthology. So we do want, like, our primary goal is to scare people, like Like, I don't know that we want the reaction that Kevin had, where they read one story and were like, "I'm too freaked out. I can't read this." And so they
that was
put it away.
James Powell. That was James Powell's fault. I was like,
And that was a great story.
I was like, the House of Fear guy. Well, this will be a nice little jump in. I was like, oh fuck, man.
James is back. He's got a story in the new one, and he said this one is like, it's probably his most, like, what do you say, grown up kind of story.
Yeah,
so,
not for kids.
It's not
for
for kids. So
it's about inflation, which scares all of us.
It scares everybody.
Very big and very scary.
But we didn't want to do too much horror comedy, and it's interesting because from the curation perspective, that's what we got mostly pitched to us. People wanted to pitch us horror comedy. And I don't know if that's because people are familiar with what I've done with Fried and they think that like that's what I'm going to naturally gravitate towards, is something, more on the humorous side. But we really want you to pitch us a horror movie in 6 to 8 pages. That's really kind of what we want.
Has anyone come to you and said, I really loved this world, I'm going to try to create a series out of it? Is that in anybody's mind that you know of?
There was a few. You don't have to say who they were, Clay, but there were a few. The first one was almost like,
David, you don't tell them what you have to tell me, or you're going bye-bye. No, obviously. If it's a secret,
but I wouldn't want to, but they told us, like, I'm hoping to launch this, and I think for us it's kind of cool because if it turns into something later, you can say, hey, well, it started at Nightmare Theater, volume 1, you can check it out. And it's a book that all the creators, most of the creators have gotten copies of to sell at cons and stuff. And they say it's been selling really well. We've fielded a couple offers with publishing it, but we're just kind of holding right now because right now it's kind of self-published and we can just continue with this and kind of build the brand a little bit.
No, that's interesting. I think back to like Warrior Magazine. It's, I only knew it existed because of V for Vendetta and Miracle Man here, Marvel Man there. But like, I'm if I ever see a Warrior Magazine, I have to buy it because that's where those two things came from.
Well, Kevin, you got to get past. You got to get past that first story on Nightmare Theater. Like you have to.
No. I'm not following your shit. I'm following Alan Moore's shit. Like, get this straight. I like Warrior Magazine.
We'll kickstart that next. Warrior Magazine.
You know what? I bet you could kickstart Miracle Man based on how nobody owns anything with it, and they're all fighting over the fact that nobody owns it. So I bet you could do it.
Can I credit myself as the original writer? Can that be my name?
Yeah,
I would not mess with a wizard if I were you. So you do what you do, but I wouldn't piss that guy off. He
Fair
knows
enough.
demons.
That is true. I do just want to say, going back to your question about like whether or not anybody wants to launch a book out of this. One thing Dave and I were very clear about is that, if you're going to have a story in this anthology, it can't just be like a prelude to something else, right? It can't just be, here's the first 6 pages of my graphic novel, right? We were insistent that even if there was going to be life to this thing afterwards, this had to be a self-contained story.
That's
so
smart.
You're going to get a lot of full stories in this thing.
Okay, good.
So how many you had a whole lot more in volume 1. How many stories are in volume 2?
20.
20.
So Charlie Stickney's with us. He says I should read the first 2 stories of the original Nightmare Theater and then give up. And I'm gonna guess who might be the second story in that volume. I didn't get there, man. James Powell scared me. I put it away. I you know what? Blame James, not me.
Charlie's story is pretty dang awesome. You gotta check it out. That Mick Byers drew that one as well.
Yeah.
Charlie was creepy in the first one.
Yeah.
That was creepy. That was a good one, Charlie.
He can write a story or two, that guy.
He's not bad. He's got a future.
Yeah,
Maybe.
He should make comics.
I don't like him as a person, but right, not bad. Not bad.
I'll say this about Charlie: he is way, way better than Stephen Prince.
Are you pitching to Scout right now, Dave?
I don't have to.
You should read all the stories in the second one. It's a pretty fantastic book. It's a pretty fantastic
you know
book.
what? I put it away that night, and I was like, I'm gonna grab it. And then, Will and I have been doing this show now for 3 months, and we're starting, fortunately and unfortunately for my reading pile, to start. I got the Tales from the Collective today. I got Capable a couple weeks back.
Yeah, I got that one. We back everybody that comes on. So
yeah, if somebody's on our show, we think that the book and the creator are worth backing. So, my reading pile has gotten really Miskatonic High, which actually has a new one out. Sacrimony. I mean, I pulled out. I'm like, oh my god, we have alumni showing up at my house now.
Yeah.
So, yes, if you're on the show, we believe in your book. I'm not sure if we believe in you as people. Definitely not Clay. Yeah, Stephen, Eric, David. Yeah, I believe in you guys as people.
Yeah.
If I didn't say
Fair.
your name.
Fair.
But
so
I put it away, and then I did get some mail, and it's in there. I'm gonna get to it, but I'm not gonna read it at night. I promise.
Read it with the lights on.
Yes. Well, that makes a lot of sense, Clay. Read it where you can see the page. Thanks, buddy.
I find it makes for a better experience.
Katrina received Tales from the Collective. Yeah. Katrina received Tales from the Collective today. Yeah, we had Danny and Travis on. Well, Travis was on for a different book, wasn't he? Wasn't Travis on?
Expired. Yeah, I think he was on.
He was on for Expired, but Danny was on.
Too. Mine got my mail today too. I had that. It was a nice surprise.
Yeah. So no, that's the extra bonus of doing the show is we also, a month, 2 months, 3 months, depending on if it's printed in America or overseas, and it's great. So, gentlemen, I do appreciate it. Is there anything specific? Oh, you know what? I don't think we can do this for Nightmare Theater. Eric, I know that you do the art and you write it. Who helps you with it? I believe I saw that maybe. Who are the other people on yours? Because we want to talk about the whole team, and sometimes we forget about that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I've always written and drawn Blister myself for a few years. Last year, I got Greg Warrencheck to do some penciling for me. Mm-hmm. I'm inking over his pencils. And then my buddy Eric Myers penciled a story, and he's penciling another one right now that I'm going to ink. I like to be involved in every page if I can. That's my goal at the end. And then Chuck Pino is actually editing for me.
That's right. He edits everything. We'd had to discuss about that last year.
If we brought Chuck on as editor of Savage Sasquatch, and he could have been on the show every week since, because he's edited a book that has been on the show every week since he was on, and he is in the chat. Chuck says Tales from the Collective is my wife's first writing credit, so I'm excited about that one. We are too. Congratulations.
Nice. Yep, congrats.
Cheers to her. And Katrina writes, dang, I should have had you draw a comic in my book for me, Eric, so I could be on this show. Katrina, when you have a book that is live, you contact us. You have an open invite.
That's
She's
right.
got one.
Well, you could have invited her.
Yeah.
Don't yell at me. I'm not the one who didn't invite her.
Katrina's cover. Actually, it was the cover artist for Katrina's current book.
Oh, were you really?
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
It's fun.
The toy, what was it?
Yeah, I did the first cover for her, so I followed up with this one. Actually, I renamed her book because I screwed up the title on the cover, and she just went with it.
That works.
I believe I backed that. It's Toys.
Return to the Toy Store?
Yeah. Let's
look that one up.
I will pull that one up, and we'll get Katrina hopefully some eyes on her project as well. It takes me. Please forgive the time. Everybody vamp for a sec.
Okay.
And everybody at the same time.
Vamp, like.
Well, you're the Nightmare Theater guy. Come on.
Right. This is me vamping. Dave's
like
doing
Kevin-
a zombie.
Which cover pose should I do? The woman? Or
Do the sexy. Yeah, do the sexy. That sells.
Well, actually, Stephen, who do you have? Who's the rest of the team on Monster Matador? Is it,
Katrina's our proofreader, so that's why everything is spelled correctly.
Nice.
Fabio Alves, who is, as I said, a Ringo Award-nominated artist, and Alex Zieff, who is our incredible colorist. And I letter the book, but I don't credit myself for it, which I probably should. But I'm no Clay Adams in that department, I'll tell you that much.
Hey, man.
Hey.
You're a Stephen Prince.
That's right.
No,
Clay's rates are just too damn high.
The rent is too damn high.
The rates are too damn high. There you
That's
go.
right.
Yeah. No, so, Katrina, the moment I saw this story, I was like, I have to back this. We have two, my brother has a nephew, his wife's nephew, and then we have sort of a pseudo adopted little brother, and both the little boys are turning 4 this Christmas. And I was like, I have to get this book. So I did back Return to the Toy Store, and I am toy store. So yes. And I am so excited to get it, Katrina. So yeah, if you're still live, and there's look at that guy.
Hey.
If you're still live and want to come on, you have an open invite, but that is completely and totally up to you. Oh, that's great. And 35 hours. So I don't think you're gonna want to come on next Friday and be like, hey guys, you missed it.
You missed the boat.
So you have 35 hours to get on that, guys. Please do. All right. I think Will, you wanna do the thing where we go through our alumni and
you bet.
So we're going to talk about all of the books that people have been on the show. We're going to do this for you guys in the future. And, at this point, I'm about 3 glasses in, and it's been a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks since the last campaign. So we're going to see how well we do about these. If you'd like to stay with us and look at the other books, hear about the other books, please do. If you're tired and you want to go night-night, Clay, I'm giving you the out. I know that you have graced us with your presence past your bedtime. So
it is well past my bedtime. So I have to check out before I fall asleep at the computer. But thank you so much for having us on. It's awesome to hang out with you guys, hang out with Steve, Eric. It's great to
meet you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. And Dave, I'll talk to you.
I gotta go too because I got a new baby here, so I'm gonna help out. But
I thought Clay was your baby.
No.
Your baby's not new anymore, Dave. It's 4 months. Isn't it like 4 or 5 months now?
He's 6 months. Thank you very much for remembering my son's age.
Kid can take care of himself now.
That's it.
Practically. But I just backed Blister. You guys should back Blister.
That looks cool. I backed it too just now.
In spite of Stephen Prince, Monster Matador is an awesome series and awesome book, so you should check it out. And then and Nightmare Theater, check it out. Thanks, guys.
Very nice to meet you, David. Clay,
have
a great night.
All right. A pleasure.
Thanks, gents.
Take care, guys.
Thanks, guys.
All right. I have stamina.
So Steve is made of sterner stuff. I like this.
That's right. All right. Okay.
And just for you staying, I'm going to share this.
It's cool.
Back Monster Matador for Katrina, guys. Ladies and gentlemen watching, do it.
Right.
All right. So.
All right.
Yeah.
We admit. Yes. We admit that this is not organized.
No. But
what follows is true. The Crescent Hotel.
Yes. This book
is a 240-page, fully painted graphic novel about the crazy stuff that happened at the Crescent Hotel in Eureka Springs, Arkansas. So it's kind of a documentary by Sean Fitzgibbons, and it ends October 31st. So it ends very soon.
Yeah, I mean, every page is beautifully painted, and the story of this hotel is unbelievably interesting. I believe that if this book gets in the right hands, there will be a documentary about this hotel on Netflix in 2 years. And
it's
sorry,
haunted.
but they're gonna do it without you. So you're not gonna get shit from it. But the comic book is amazing.
All right. So yeah, thanks, Sean. Let's see. Road Trip to Hell.
This is the son of Lucifer, doesn't know it, living on Earth, just kind of doing their own thing when the devil dies and he inherits hell. Unfortunately, any evil being that wants to rule hell can kill him before he takes charge, and they try. Certain tiny mustachioed German plays a small part. So, if you're going to do something evil or time travel, Hitler's got to be in there somewhere, and they don't shy from it. Seemed like a real fun, adventure-y, a good time book about hell.
Yeah, and Nicole was on 2 or 3 shows ago maybe. So yeah, and it looks like a really fun book. This is for the 3rd issue, and you can of course get the first 2 as well. So
yeah, 37 hours. Don't take your time on this one.
Yeah, don't wait on that one.
Actually, I noticed even closer though, Zufan #1, a Pan-African sci-fi inspired by the true story of when the Italians invaded Ethiopia in the 1800s. At this time, Europeans were basically coming into Africa and divvying it up for themselves any way, shape, or form. The Ethiopian people were separated by tribes and warring amongst themselves. When they saw a common enemy, they actually started working together against the Italians. And this is the true fact. I didn't know until we met the writer. I didn't know anything about this. I'm a normal, ignorant American. I didn't know any of it. And he immigrated to the United States, and he realized that none of us know this story. And he decided to tell it, but tell it in a way that he transformed it as an alien invasion. And it's just a sci-fi superhero story, Pan-African superheroes working together to repel an alien invasion based upon a true fact. And that was extraordinarily cool. But you have less than a day to back this, people. So Zufan #1, I'm going to find the URL. Will you figure out the next one?
The next one.
Yes.
All right. I'm going up from the bottom of my list. I wish it sorted them in order, but Snowpaw.
Ooh, Rob Multari.
Snowpaw, yeah, it's by our buddy Rob Multari and an amazing artist, Mog Park. It is a beautiful, beautiful looking book. It's a spinoff from Rob's Nightwolf, and it looks like about November 3rd is when it ends. So about 5 days left, under 5 days probably by this point.
Yeah.
Mog is
extraordinary.
Extraordinary. And yeah, you should, and that Rob guy can write too a little bit, whatever. But Mog is awesome. So,
and I'm going to say that Tart artist Ludovic Saleh did a variant cover for it, which I love. So I'm going to have to always shout out Ludo. And I'm going to say that somebody else I knew got a Ludovic Saleh variant cover today.
Oh yes, and I am looking forward to starting to show that thing off real soon for Crossover Division #3, but not yet.
Not yet.
Soon.
Not yet.
Very soon.
Right.
So did you have the link for the Zufan? Did you find it? Or...
I did put it up, yes.
Okay, good. All right, awesome.
That's old news, man. That's old news.
Yeah, old news. Hey, we got some Bigfoot in space. Savage Sasquatch.
That's the easiest one to say. Bigfoot in space. If you're not going to back it, what are you doing?
Well, what is wrong with you?
Such a fun book.
Yeah.
So this is for #6. You can also get the first 5 issues as well. It looks like it ends on November 5th. which would put it probably about a week left on it, I think.
Mm-hmm. Is Duplicate still live? Yes, it is. It's very live.
That's
Duplicate is a fabulous sci-fi dystopian story about a pandemic, which was started long before, looks around all this.
Yeah, long before now.
But organs are failing around the globe, and there's nothing they can do to stop the virus that is creating the organ failure. But a super smart scientist creates a way to 3D print organs. And as a corporation will, they decide to use it to profit instead of help, and kind of very moral goes into the ethics of it, goes into the morals of it. Very, very dark, but thought-provoking stuff. And Stephen, Carla actually shouted you out when she was on the show. She brought up your book, and I was like, oh, and then I saw the art. I didn't have time to look at it. I was like, oh my God, we got to talk to this guy. This art is incredible.
Yeah, Carla and the other writer, Rylan Grant, met in a writing course at Meltdown Comics here in LA back when Meltdown was still a thing. And we have a little script reading crew. So I've read Duplicate in script form back before, and it's on. I mean, like you said, it's one of the smartest, just most prescient books out right now. It's really great sci-fi, but she really just kind of like her timing was just like boom, pandemic, excellent. It's like, I mean, she really nailed it. She really hit the timing. It's such a relevant book. And
it's relevant in a way that I literally asked her, did she start it based on it? Yeah. And no, she had just she said she had looked at the AIDS crisis and how people had dealt with that and moved forward to her own. And it's devastating, but it's also just like, it's just thought-provoking and smart, and definitely 100% worth checking out.
It's definitely worth checking out. And I can tell you, I've read this last issue. It's
there. Okay.
It's awesome. There. Yeah, it's good. She definitely sticks, the landing that she's going for. Good.
By the time I get to Dallas.
Oh yeah. So
this is the first 3 issues. It'll be the 3rd issue, but you can also get the first 2. Take it away, Kevin.
So real life ER doctor Colin Devonshire, I believe is how it's pronounced, kind of made us all look like assholes because he took 30 days off of work and created this incredible story. Zombie-ish in that a very large part of the population of the world wakes up and has to go to Dallas. And no one knows why, but it's just a compulsion that they can't fight. And this kind of shit-ass med student who kind of thinks flatliners is something that they need to do in real life and kind of messes around and should be kicked out of med school. His girlfriend is one of them, and he ends up trying to follow her to Dallas to fix this whole thing. And it's a little zombie in that this mindless work, but it's the first issue is just tension upon tension upon tension because it's that great horror where you're waiting for it to happen and you're just waiting, but not in a way that you're let down that it's not happening. It just increases, and I'm looking forward to reading more because I read the first issue, and it definitely. I mean, look, man, we've been blessed by amazing books. This week is completely on par with the great books we've had. So,
there's Sacrifice.
I'm sorry, Steve. What?
Oh no, I was just gonna say there's such. I mean, Monster Matador included, but there really is such great talent on Kickstarter.
Yeah.
There's so many good books going on there right now.
It's basically my local comic shop. I used to spend $25 a week at my local comic shop, and now And now I back $50 a week in Kickstarter, which is starting to. I'm looking at my credit card. I'm like, I got to figure out maybe some more.
Well, that's the trick, is that you realize that at the end of the month, you're like, oh shit.
A little more, maybe a little more digital. Because I want to read these, but maybe. All right, so Sacrifice. Go for it, Will.
Yeah, Sacrifice. It's a Hellboy kind of meets the Evil Dead. It's a human versus demon action in 32-page horror comedy, which, hey, we were just talking about horror comedy with Clay earlier.
Yeah. Sacrifice was first pitched to Nightmare Theater, and
I don't think so, but whatever. We had Laurent on
Laurent, yes.
Laurent on was it last week or week before last?
I think it was last week, but I'm going to be honest. It's just like there are so many open campaigns and that's great, but it's kind of like, we need to get people on that have like 1 week campaigns because I've got 1, 2, like 4 additional ones that are not on the show that I'm backing as well. Yeah,
so, I mean, I've got like 12.
It's an amazing time on Kickstarter right now. It really is. No, but Sacrifice is really cool. Basically, this kind of goes with the one from Nicole, where God is dead. And Lucifer is trying to basically rise to the earth by putting himself into his son, a baby on earth. And archangels come in and stop that ritual. But when that baby dies, hell will come to earth. And we kind of rejoin that baby as an adult. And he's sort of like, when Angel had his show and he became a private eye and fought demons, it's kind of like an angel, but Angel's the son of Lucifer instead of a vampire. And it's just a fun, good, quality book. And Laurent designs all of the demons himself. And he said that one of his artists actually said, I shouldn't have looked at this one before I went to bed. From now on, send me your demon designs in the morning, which was really cool. And they're all really unique and different and just kind of I would say like on par with, and I don't want to, like Hellraiser, like all the, what are those guys called?
Cenobites.
Yes, all the Cenobites are like completely different, but of a type. Like they don't look like Cenobites at all, but it's kind of like that design of just unique and strange and like cool. So Sacrifice is well worth your time and effort. Do we have any more?
I think I'm double checking here. No. Need to invite him on the show.
I think we did it well.
I think we're done. Yes, we did it. Totally did it.
Steven, you win.
I made it.
We don't tell anybody this, but the people who don't stay with us are dead to us.
They're dead to me.
So, well, I mean, that was good from the earth. It was great to meet you. And
it was good to meet you guys. This was a lot of fun. Thank you.
It was. We have one comment before we go, and oh my gosh, I didn't realize this. Katrina is the editor of Snowpaw.
Is there anything
I should have known that. I'm sorry, Katrina.
Katrina, you're working in some Chuck Pino territory here. Well, Katrina, you let us know if you want to come on the show. You have the invite.
Oh, and she stayed too, so she's still here.
Oh my gosh!
Another comment.
Beautiful. If you turned in, thank you so much. I want to do one real quick thank you to the Geek Collective. They allow us to do this. They give us a home. They give us a place to talk to comic creators like Steven and Clay and David and Eric. And it's Will and I. It's our Friday nights. We get to kind of have our little happy hour. And thank you for joining us. I've never said this before, but if you do that, like and subscribe thing, do that. And if you don't, I don't care.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's a good advice.
All right. Thank you. Good night, everybody.
Yep. Good night, everyone. Thanks.